Hey, it's Darren with ArbitrageTrade. It is time for Deep Dive with Daniel. He's across the sea still, so we will have a good time and make sure he doesn't do the little pixelation. It looks like Minecraft. I think he's good right now, though, so we will continue on. His blog this week was, and I probably will butcher this. I keep trying to say it the right way. The Zweig breath thrust. See, I keep wanting to say trust, but that would be like an ETF, I guess. The Zweig breath thrust. 100% accurate bullish signal that just appeared. Will that streak end or will it continue? To be determined later. So I saw that. I was like you even mentioned, is that a aerobics thing, or is it a workout or a yoga thing? It's the downward dog and the breath thrust. My two favorite exercises. No. This is actually a financial thing, of course, which is what he brings every week. So kind of explain it to us what that is, Daniel, the significance of it.
Yeah. So, the reason that this, I'll call it market indicator was kind of all over Twitter was that so far it's had 100% market accuracy to predict from the time of that indication, which is something that normally happens in bear markets, that the preceding 6 to 12 months always show a positive gain from the signal of that indicator. And obviously, everybody wants an edge in the market, and they want to know that when they're going to put in their money, it's going to be more money later. So this one gets people a little giddy.
You said preceding, so that means that it happens after this comes out or before? Your preceding is before, so you're saying that.
No, proceeding.
Okay, good. I just want to clarify. I wasn't sure if I heard that right. So what you're saying is this thing just switched on. So
Yep. This can, we can talk about I'll give you the simplified version of how it works.
Yes.
But it just, we'll call it tripped its alert. And from then it's, historically means the good times are back, which means on After the Bell, our other podcast, I'll be saying it's back, baby, every,
Here he goes.
Wednesday afternoon.
Yep. I think I've got a doctor's appointment next Wednesday. No, I'm just kidding. So there was a simplified explanation. You could run over those 2 bullet points so people can understand where that comes from.
Yeah, so you take the way this indicator is made is it kind of is viewing advancing stocks versus declining stocks. So you take the 10-day moving average of the number of advancing stocks in the market, divide it by the sum of the advancing stocks plus declining stocks over the same period. And this number, what you're looking for is it gives you a percentage, right? So you're looking for a rapid rise from 40%, which would indicate oversold, right? So you can think of this almost as like an RSI kind of indicator, right? So you can think of it as like goes oversold and then goes above 61.5, which indicates overbought within a span of 10 days, right? So you can think of it like if you looked at your traditional RSI indicator, it goes to 40 and then 61, and it does that within 10 days. And this signals a shift in market sentiment. And this rapid shift, like I said, when we can get into some examples, has always shown that over the next 6 to 12 months, that there's positive market returns.
Yeah, the only thing, of course, I got to bring a counter here, is that it's kind of unprecedented what we're in. So it's kind of hard to make everything else that has happened, however it's happened before now, compared to now. Now, I know we talk about rhymes versus being the exact same thing, etc. But I mean, when you're talking about this, how many stocks we're talking about here was the Magnificent Seven, right? I mean, we didn't have a Magnificent Seven or that much of a domination of that at the top. So that's the only thing I could see that might give this the final or first loss, if you will, which might take it down to 90 something percent, I don't know, is that it's comparing more normal spread across markets versus this market, which is so top heavy with just 7 stocks. So that's my feedback on that, in my opinion, which everybody has.
Well, I think the important thing to remember though is that for this indicator to be right, we have 12 months till we have to be positive from here. So we can still go down for 6 months before we rally back, right? And you know, this is not the case with the indicator, but technically we only have to be positive by 1% for it to be right, right? Right. So I mean,
it's easier to be right, is what you're saying. It's easier to be right because of the
yeah. I mean, there's such a big time frame.
Yes.
For which it to be right, right? And and we won't get into it here, but after the bell, like to some degree, there's signals that this is, we're just in a little bear market rally right now, and we have, at least a few more months till we really find any kind of bottom, and there's potentially it goes down more. So it goes down for 3, call it 4 months, right? That puts us in like about halfway through the year. That's 6 months of a total bear market, right? Which is still gives this indicator 8 months or so to rally. So like, sure, it can be right. It might not be pretty going into it, but it can still be right.
It looks like it'll always be 100% if that's the amount of space it's always given. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But go ahead and give the examples. The 3 that you gave. I guess this would be the last 3 of them being right, or is this the entirety? All 3?
No. This was just 3 examples. If you go on, Twitter, look this up. There's actually a chart of like, I want to say it had 15 different times this says tripped and all the returns of it.
In fact, if you go to our website, to the blog page, you will see that chart that you're talking about. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
It goes back to 1943. So yeah, interesting.
So yeah, I mean, one of them was the Great Financial Crisis. So, market tumbled for a while there, right? And in March of 2009, so almost like a year later after the market started to correct, this indicator signal a shift. And 12 months, keep in mind, Darren, 12 months after this went off, the market had surged about 70%. And as we now know, that was really the start of one of the longest and greatest bull runs in history. That being said, I would not encourage people to hold their breath for that to happen again, because they might turn quite blue.
Yeah.
So another time was 1987. The market fell 22% in a single trading session. And after, a few days, this once again triggered and rapidly recovered within the following months. And then, of course, one that was more recent and so near and dear to our heart is the, COVID March 2020 crash. And, we all know that the moment that, this tripped, we once again had an incredible bull run on 0 fundamentals because no one can leave their home. So, for when fundamentals fail you, which you could argue they have been for a while, may not hurt to look at one of what people deem as these silly indicators.
Yeah, we definitely talked a lot about different ones. These, if you'll notice, and I kind of look at, I like to look at things that kind of jump out, which this is every 10 years is what I'm looking at here. 87. No, that's actually 20. So it was 20 years between 87 and 2009, and then 10 years to 2020. I don't know, but then you see, I like the times of year always jump out to me. So 2 of these were in March, and one was in October. So that's interesting too. But anyway, Just throwing it out there for apparently no reason, just because it's stuff that I saw. So, what does it mean now? Then we don't know, or just I mean, it's a trip.
Yeah,
So
I think you were saying earlier, like, this time it's different, right? Which are famous last words in investing.
no, I keep hearing that this is just like blah blah blah. The people that go on CNBC always love to say, "Oh, well, this is not different. This is we had this happen in blah blah blah, or we had this happen in 2008. No big deal." I mean, actually, they don't ever say those specific days. They always talk about the other years that we did so well with. But yeah, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we never know, and there's always a first time to be wrong. Um, but I think it's one of those things where you take it with a grain of salt, knowing that surely it is very possible to be positive in 6 to 12 months, but this is not an indicator of the bottom, right? If you look
Yes.
at that chart that we have in the actual blog post, you'll see that the 1 and 3 month period preceding the trigger of this indicator can still be negative, right? And I believe it was always positive 6 and 12 months after. This could be the first time it's negative 6 months after, but only positive 12, right?
Yep.
So you definitely still need to look at the fundamentals at play to decide when is your entry point, or talk to a financial advisor, or if you do your own investing, use tools like Arbitrage to see what we're signaling of when you're going to decide to get in, and use this as some background confirmation.
Yeah, just let a robot do it for you. An
Yep.
algorithmic robot. I don't know where you can find one of those.
Not on our website.
Not at all. Not under Arbitrage Trade Assist. But yeah, I was looking at that chart. It's kind of interesting. I kind of got pulled into it, honestly. Um, but when I started to look at times of year that it happened, and I don't really see a big correlation. It is interesting. In '62, it happened twice, and then in '23, it happened twice. So that's kind of interesting. But I get pulled into stuff like that. I want to look at every single
Mhm.
angle as far as that goes. Even looking at the percentages and based off of how many months, etc. But we don't have time for me to do all that analyzation. So, so from here, just basically like you said, trust your financial advisor, which we are not, but we do offer that solution, which is to use our algorithm to make those decisions for you. So, as you put it, trust the thrust. I have to say it. I had to say it at least once before we were done here. You did say both but with prudence, so that cleans it up a little bit. All right, thanks, Daniel. Are we gonna have another indicator next week? I mean, there are certainly plenty.
I was trying to decide this week between this, and then I also learned that Bloomberg tracks a bacon, egg, and cheese index as a proxy for inflation.
A
So
breakfast index.
yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. But I think
Yeah.
we had who knows? Maybe we'll have some fun news to talk about next week, and we can
No,
just
I mean, I
riff
like the
on that.
indicators. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, it's just funny how many there are just to fit narratives, because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they've got this big booklet of those indicators. And they go, okay, well, we're doing this right now. That fits this narrative. So I'm going to use this one as our indicator for now. Even if it goes against some other indicator that they have had in the past. It's funny, but
Right.
it is good to look at, and we know the computers control everything. So, all right, Daniel, appreciate it. I will see you next week.
Thanks for that, Darren.
All right, bye.